You're watching Detroit on Deck. Here are your hosts, Dave Cesefske and Josh Clark.
What's going on, everybody? Another episode of Detroit on Deck, March Madness edition, but we do got some crazy stories going on. Dave Cesefske, Josh Clark. Josh, I don't know what happened. Like the moon looks weird tonight, or what? What's going on, man? Why don't we start the show before we get into all the madness of March? Well, we'll get into some other madness in sports because the first story, obviously, it affects our team, our Detroit team here, with the Lions. Some interesting news came out today about Cam Sutton. He is wanted right now, and they don't know where he's at. So what in the actual heck is going on with Cam Sutton? Because this isn't just domestic assault; it's battery as well, as you were saying.
Yeah, no, yeah. From what I've been seeing and all the articles I've been reading, they're not able to find him. I guess he's somewhere in Florida. Well, he was, at the time. If he's not turning himself in, it tells me he's on the run, which isn't a good look on him.
No, it is not.
But yeah, from what I've been seeing, it's a domestic violence battery by strangulation, which could serve up to 5 years in prison if convicted. And the fact that he's running, he's guilty. Like, you're making yourself look guilty. If you're not guilty, turn yourself in, cooperate with the authority, then, move on with your life. But
yeah, I mean, the story here, it says he's 29. It says is accused of domestic battery by strangulation, which is a felony punishable up to 5 years in Florida. They issued the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office made a warrant public. And they had no idea where the dude was, as you said. Now, he probably got some legal advice to kind of lay low, and that's usually what happens, right?
Right.
But still, like you said, it's like O.J. Simpson in a Bronco driving away from the cops. Doesn't exactly look good for you, right? So, but, we know how that worked out for O.J., just saying. Hopefully justice comes through here. I got to tell you, he'll never play another down for the Lions.
He absolutely shouldn't play another down. And like I was telling you before we came on air, the fact that he's still on that roster right now with this information that's out there is it's honestly it's a terrible look for for the organization.
Yeah, it is. It's wild, man. And then this one just gets me. Obviously, MLB is over in Korea right now.
Yep, Seoul, Korea.
Yeah, so Shohei Ohtani's interpreter fired amid gambling theft allegations. You had sent this to me, but I saw it come through on ESPN too. $4.5 million. That's a lot of money.
It's still a chunk of change, even for a $700 million man.
So, and I see my mind's even spinning around with all this going on because it literally just happened about an hour or so ago. But it's wild. It's kind of embarrassing for him as well as they're in Korea and they're opening up this first, regular season series with the Padres. And I will say this, my only gripe, and I won't get into it much, but is this: if you're a fan of the Padres or the Dodgers, dude, you got to get up at 3 a.m. to watch this.
Yeah,
that's kind of, I don't know, man. I don't love that. For baseball, I mean, I don't understand a lot of things they're doing. I know they're trying to grow the sport, but they got to work on some of these viewers that are here, these younger kids that won't stick through a 9-inning game. They've already shortened it up with the pitch clock, and it's helped. And I think they're letting guys, pitchers are they're not beating guys anymore for, bat flips and stuff like that, which I like. You got to have some flavor in the game, but that's just a wild story, but I don't want to waste too much of our time because we want to get into the NCAA bracket. Josh, there's no secret if you know one of us, you're a UNC fan. I'm a UK fan. Kentucky opens up with the Oakland Grizzlies, the Golden Grizzlies. You ain't got to correct me. I know who they are. I heard you. He's like, that's my alma mater. But I want to get into some of those matchups. So what we'll do is we'll work our way up or work our way down from the very top on each bracket. So obviously I have the South bracket that would mean that you have the West bracket. So we'll do
Yes,
that.
sir.
So listen, a number 1 seed, Houston, taking on Longwood. Longwood has no chance. That's going to be one of those games where you watch and you probably tune in for 5 minutes because Houston beats them by 60, 50, 40. I don't know what it'll be, but it doesn't matter because
Right.
Longwood stands no chance. What about your first game?
First game up here, UNC versus Wagner, who won their first 4 game the other night.
Yeah.
Over Howard. Again, same situation here. Carolina coming off a don't want to say devastating, but it's never good to lose to an in-state rival like they
Right.
did, against North Carolina State in the ACC championship game. So I expect them to come out hungry and win this game by 30 to 40 points. Honestly,
Yeah, I could see that happening as well. My next game here, this is a little bit of an intriguing matchup, right? You got to love those 8 and 9 matchups. Nebraska, the 8 seed, taking on Texas A&M. I know we were talking, and you picked Texas A&M for I believe, for a possible upset there, which still counts as an upset, but
yeah. I mean, the 8-9 games to me, I mean, they're kind of washed. It's like 8.5 versus 8.5.
No, I'm with you, but hey, I mean, you usually you had a little bit more success or just more quad 1 wins or whatever you want to say. That's a pick'em game, man. I
agree.
You and I have not seen a ton of Texas A&M, if any, right? If we're being honest. Nebraska, I've seen, right?
I mean, I've seen Nebraska. I've seen Texas A&M a few different times against Florida, against Kentucky. I've seen them a couple times against Bama as well. So,
what about you? Next game.
Next game, the Mississippi State versus Michigan State Spartans.
Yeah. Wow.
It's a
Sparty is
SEC,
an underdog, right?
Good old SEC versus Big Ten there.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Michigan State in that game. Just the veteran team coaches. Obviously, I think has the coaching advantage there as well.
Of course.
And then Michigan State, they just have that guy in Tyson Walker, so I expect him to kind of do his thing and get Spartan past this game, and in a close game, I feel like. But I think Sparty pulls it out at the end.
Okay, so this next one is one that I had circled. Wisconsin and James Madison. People say, James Madison? Listen to some of this, okay? This is an article from Fox Sports as well. Wisconsin is taking on 31-3 James Madison. 31-3, okay? And they got a couple dudes who combine to average over 30 points. Terrence Edwards Jr., TJ Bickerstaff. They can score the ball, right? Meanwhile, Wisconsin, we know because we've seen a lot of Big Ten.
Highest scoring team ever.
Yeah, but they've gone 3-8 in the last 11 games, right? So you're like, that's because they play no defense. Can they score?
Which is sad to say because Wisconsin, underneath Bo Ryan, it was all about defense, defense. But like I just said, this is their highest scoring team ever, I believe.
Right, and they've scored 90 points in 4 Big Ten tournament games. Listen, they can do some work, right? But I think James Madison could give them a scare. So I'm gonna say something here that might come back and bite me, but I think James Madison pulls an upset right there and wins that game.
I agree with you.
Okay.
I have them in the Sweet 16.
Dude, after you look into that team a little bit more, a lot of scoring, 31-3. I don't care what conference you play in. You bet you're going to be good. You're a good team, right? So they're going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree for sure. Starting the year off, beating Michigan State as well, kind of just skyrocketed them into, a great season, probably the best in program history. My next matchup is number 5 St. Mary's versus Grand Canyon. I'm going with you there. I like the dog here. I like Grand Canyon to beat St. Mary's.
Wow, and I love that. Love it.
Grand Canyon 29-4 on the season, first in their conference as a team, 75% from the stripe, which is important. Their downfall, though, they only shoot 35% from 3 of the team.
Yeah.
They do have 3 guys who are over 40% from the line. One of those guys is over 50% from the 3-point line.
Which is incredible.
I looked further into his stats as well. The guy over 50%, thinking, okay, did he go 2 for 4? Was it limited time? No, this is the guy that played 33 games in 23 minutes a night.
Yeah.
So that 50% is legit from 3.
Yeah.
12 turnovers a game as a team, 9 steals a game, 5 blocks.
Yeah.
And their leading scorer, 19 points a game. So they have a guy as well who can, obviously take over and propel them to a victory. So I do like that upset there.
So my next game here, Duke is actually 12-point favorites over Vermont, but when you look a little bit closer, they could be on upset alert. Listen, Duke, for a couple reasons.
They were 17-point favorites against Lehigh.
Yeah, well, there you go, right? So anything can happen. But Vermont plays up tempo, and that's given Duke troubles all season long. I don't think that this is it's not the most athletic Duke team we've ever seen. I'll say that as well. We've talked about Filipowski. He doesn't, to me, he disappears at certain points of the game. He's a big guy, so yeah, he's going to have some type of impact. But
they're going to go as far as Tyrese Proctor takes him and Jeremy Roach.
Right, and Jeremy Roach throughout his career has been inconsistent. I mean,
Right.
He a few years ago, I remember him beating up on Michigan State and had a nice tournament run. And he's definitely taken a step forward this year. He's a better player for sure, but sometimes he does disappear. I just have a feeling, man. I just think that's one of those games too you want to keep an eye on, and it's all going to come down to the first 5 minutes in that ball game. Because if Duke doesn't start off hot, which they have a potential to struggle in these tournaments, we see it. It's not because we hate Duke. I don't like Duke at all, but
I hate Duke. But
that's a chance.
But no, yeah, I disagree with you in terms of the win-loss there. I think Duke does win that game. However, if I'm
I'm saying Duke wins, but I'm saying be on upset alert.
If I'm a spread better, I'm taking Vermont. I think 13 is too much.
No. I believe Duke wins 100%.
Yeah.
But I don't think it. I think it could be like, I don't know, eight points, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Right? So it could be a lot closer than people are thinking. What about you? Next game?
The Catamounts. No, I have Alabama versus Charleston. I like chalk here. I like Bama to win this game. I don't know much about Charleston, but I did look up their schedule earlier, and they have no impressive wins. I think they were 0-4 against tournament teams who were actually in the field this year. So they're one of those teams that won their conference and won the league tournament. So if they didn't win the league tournament, I feel like this is a team that potentially could have been left out of the tournament. Like I said, I'm sorry, they were 0-3, not 0-4. Losses against FAU, Vermont, and Duquesne.
Okay.
Those are the only teams they played that were in the tournament, and they lost them all. However, they do average 81 points a game, 42 rebounds a game as well, which is nice. 2 guys over 45% from 3, and they only average 9.7 turnovers a game. So, but the downside to them is, though, their leading scorer only averages 12 points.
See, that to me is wild. He's going to have to put up 20 plus. That's wild. Yeah, right. That's not enough. That's not enough. So I got to bring a little bit of deja vu back into your life here, because you guys just played NC State not too long ago. Now they're playing Texas Tech, and actually, if we're being honest, NC State gave you guys a ball game. Okay, that was an 84-76 game. And a guy I'm looking at right now who played well in that game, who's going to be a key in this ball game, is DJ Horn. Had 29 points against UNC. Averages over nearly 17 points a game. Shot 45% from the field. Good player. Steps up in big games. Now, it's weird because when I'm looking at these two teams, obviously you look at NC State, an 11 seed. They didn't really have a great season. I'll be honest with you, and you know that. But as we know, some of these teams can rise to the occasion. Yep. Texas Tech, yeah, they're a 6 seed, but I've seen them play a couple times this season. I wasn't too impressed, to be honest with you, but and it's Texas Tech, right? So I don't know. I think that's a potential upset as well. I think Texas Tech, looking at the spread here, looks like they are I believe it was it 7-point spread when I last saw it?
That's wild and way too big in my opinion. I think they should be the underdogs.
Yeah. Well, if we're going by seeds, no, but you've seen NC State play. They could play, man. They can play.
Well, NC State should be favored in this game. There's no reason in my mind that they should be underdogs, regardless of the seed.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're an ACC team, right? But if you look at, their in-conference record, 9-11, not terrible. not terrible, right? Like, because if you look at other teams, everybody beats up each other in that kind of conference. Obviously, North Carolina was incredible. Duke had a good
I
year,
mean,
but your
if we're
third team, Virginia's 13-7, 12-8. Pitt. I don't know, man. It's
if
wild.
we're being honest, NC State probably has the best 3 day stretch in the country this year. Duke, Virginia, North Carolina, 3 straight days they beat.
Yeah, which, and they were right there in that
So
game.
that tells me that the pressure of an elimination game doesn't bother them because they knew they had to win that tournament to get into the NCAA's.
Yep.
So the pressure of the NCAA or of the NCAA shouldn't bother them. So
Well, and I think that this is one of those sports that like how you're playing late in the season matters, right? Like it's not like
exactly the UConn Kemba led team. Like they were outside of the
big
tournament
time
before they went on that run and won the Big East and went up to
Yep.
eventually win the national title. So
Well, same thing with like we talked about Michigan State a little bit, but how often is it where it's like, oh man, they're struggling, and then Izzo's got that magic in March, right?
Yep.
Like it can happen. So that's one that I'm curious to see. What's next for you, man?
Next for me, Clemson and the New Mexico Lobos.
Oh,
11-6 matchup. I like the dog here.
okay.
I like New Mexico to win this game outright.
Why?
Regardless of what the spread is. I'm a big component of guard play come March Madness, and they just
You have to have good guards. Have to.
They have a 3-headed monster there. Their leading scorer average 17. There are 2 other guards that I'm referring to average 14 and 14. Some you're talking 45 points right there. Between those
You'll
three.
take that.
So just outside of that as well, I mean, this is the team that doesn't turn the ball over. They rebound the ball really well. They play good perimeter defense, 9 steals a game. They play good interior defense, 5.3 blocks a game as well. And they also average 82 points a game. So it's a good combination come March.
So you got, as you said, to your point, got to have good guard play. This next team I'm going to talk about has good guard play. I'll get to the other team in a second. We know Michigan. We know Kentucky's going to beat Oakland. I mean, I think so. I think it's going to be a pretty big blowout. But Antonio Reeves is a baller. A lot of love for Reed Shepherd right now. Don't get me wrong. I like him, but to me, it feels like Tyler Hero 2.0. Like I'm not drafting him top 5. You know what I'm saying? Like I like him. Yeah, he could be a nice first round draft pick later on, but it feels like Tyler Hero.
It just goes to show you how weak the draft is this year.
Well, it's pretty bad. Now, I will tell you there's the Oakland University men's basketball team. Okay. There's a kid that I covered when I was doing like community television in Oxford, and his name's Trey Townsend. Okay. And Townsend leads them in scoring at 16.9 points, okay? In the win to get them to win the Horizon League this past week, he had 38 points in that win, an 83-76 game. You talk about good guards, right? He's a forward, but he plays like a 2.
That's the type of game he's going to have for them to even have a chance against Kentucky.
Well, even that, right? You got to have another guy, and I just don't see it happen. But Trey Townsend, he's a nice player, a really nice player. But here's the problem, the drop off, and I would say this isn't even enough. And it's not a shot at Trey. He's a leading scorer. He averages 16.9 points. That's not enough because your next guy, the drop off is down to 13.2. That's Blake Lampman. Okay, 13.2, 12.2, and then after that you go down to 8.7. So like, where am I going to get some help from? Because in the rotation's not even as big. Kentucky can get this team just in the rotation alone. They got guys that are probably better than Oakland starters that have never touched the court this year.
Yeah.
That's not a slap on Oakland. It's a hell of a job to make it to the tournament. It's the truth.
I mean, and that's what you expect out of Kentucky. That was just to have talent just sitting.
Of course. And Cal, he's, like I said, he's a special coach. He's one of those coaches, and I think he'll, he needs one more ring though. So I don't see it happening this year, but he's going to get a win. He'll move on to at least the second round. I'll say that. Next for you.
Number 3 Baylor, number 14 Colgate. I'm not going to talk long about this at all.
Yeah.
Baylor's going to win this game.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be close.
They're so athletic, dude.
Just their style of play, like you just said, they're athletic, they're up and down ability. Like I just expect this to be a blowout early and often. So basically all I got there.
No, and then you don't need to even say much. You know what I mean? Like they're
Colgate
athletic.
stats really aren't really worth talking about, honestly.
No, and Scott Drew, right? If this was a game, he's a good coach.
And that's no knock on them. I just they're at a smaller college. Baylor's a bigger college, so I just expect a nightmare.
This is where it's like Colgate, like, hey, I'm sure you're a great team, and like that's a great thing that you made the tournament, and they're gonna hang out up a banner somewhere in the rafters, and that'll be probably one of your best seasons ever, if not the best season. But you're going home early, so don't unpack your suitcase, right?
No, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
What's your next game?
Next game, number 7 Dayton versus number 10 Nevada. I like Dayton to get by here, the higher seed. So yeah, I'm gonna take Dayton there, and potentially, honestly, I like them to beat Arizona as well.
Ooh, okay. And we talked about this a little bit, but even though your dude Love is there, you're good with that, huh? You think that happens? They get by him?
I mean, if I'm a betting man, I'll probably take Arizona. But speaking with my head and not my heart, Dayton is just one of those mid-major schools that has, they
always do something.
They just have that Cinderella in them. You know what I mean? So,
Obi Toppin, baby.
Am I putting my money on Dayton to beat Arizona? No, but my head's telling me like, hey, this is a game like it's worth watching and keeping a close eye because I think it's going to come down to the wire.
Yeah. So my next game that I have here on the bracket, I believe it's Marquette, Western Kentucky. Yeah, it is. And Hilltoppers, Western Kentucky are going to lose, and they're going to lose bad.
What was your 7-10?
My 7-10. Oh, like how can I say no about your Florida Gators, right? Your Florida Gators, who the 10 seed was that one of the first four?
No, they play tonight at 9, so it's about to tip off.
And that is that's not Boise. It's Boise, Colorado. Okay,
Colorado. Yep.
That's one of those games where it was like Colorado had a chance. Like Colorado's a decent squad, but I still feel like Florida gets that win. Now, I don't mind Florida, man. I know that Florida's your football team. UNC is your basketball team, but you still watch Florida basketball. You still know enough about them.
From time to time, yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. I feel like Florida's been down in the SEC for years.
Personally, I think that Florida wins this game if Boise wins tonight. I feel like Florida loses if Colorado wins.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So what about Colorado? Because I don't know much about Colorado. I know on the football side Colorado, but
I'm drawing a blank on his name. But they have a stud player there. He's projected a top 3 to top 5 pick, and there's been some mock drafts I've seen him going number 1 overall. I believe he's a wing.
Okay, so if you're talking about Colorado, it's KJ Simpson. I know who we're talking about. KJ Simpson's a baller. So he's a heck of a player. I'm actually pulling up his stats now. Yeah, he's a 6'2" junior, so decent size, not great, but 19.6 points a game, shoots at 48%. I mean, this dude can play, man. He put up 23 points in their last game, a loss to Oregon, but they didn't lose big. So, I mean, it's just, the Buffs, they're not playing many teams, man. So,
no, yeah, I agree. Again, come March. I mean, none of these mid majors play anybody really either.
Oh no, you're right.
There's upsets that happen. So, I mean, I think this is one of those areas where Florida losing their big man, Colorado having that guy.
Yeah,
I feel like they can survive and advance that game.
I think Western Kentucky gets blown out by Marquette. Marquette's got a few dudes starting with Cam Jones. He's a nice player, averaging around 17 a game. Outside of Cam Jones, I know they got one more dude who averages in double figures, but they got a few guys in their starting 5. Western Kentucky, I mean, I saw him play. Right. I saw him play Kentucky once, and that's all I can say about them. But they're not winning that game. So here's Marquette's leading scorers, and this is what I'm talking about when you're at a different level in some of these smaller schools. Cam Jones 16-8. Then you got Tyler Kolek at 15-0. And then they got another dude coming in here. I can't even say his name. Oso Ighodaro, I believe. He's at 14 points. That's a name I would hate to say as a broadcaster. Respect to you, man. You look like you're a good player, but I can't say your name. But he's averaging 14 points a game. But like they got more options. You know what I mean? Like some of these smaller schools, Colgate might have a guy that averaged 22 points a game, but he's going to score 13 in that first game, right? Like
Right.
when you play a good defense and a squad that's got it, then it's probably not going to go your way. Josh, we are approaching the end of our show here, but I do want to get into a couple more things in terms of tournament time here. So I want to know what your thoughts are with this NIT conversation because people are not accepting bids as we saw. And I thought it was kind of a disrespectful thing because here's my thing about this. If you didn't get in and you're pissed about not making it like Patino did, I get it. But would you not want to give your seniors another chance to play one more game or go out there, win another game? I mean, for like Ohio State, Diebler, he got a chance to win a game. They played Cornell, he won. But does that mean much? I don't know, man. But I think it's nice to get some positive anything positive going, getting a dub on your record. That was his first game as the official coach. So I like it, but there was a few programs that said, we're not going to do this. So what are your thoughts on that?
No, yeah, I mean, I'm on the side of I don't think the university should have the option to decline bid like that.
Agreed.
If they're selected, that's like Purdue saying, no, we're good. We're gonna back out of the NCAA's because we want to protect Edie's draft stock, not have him get hurt or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
he won't be drafted, but yeah.
No, I'm just saying.
I know what
he's
you're saying.
The best player in basketball according to the awards and whatnot. Personally, don't think he is, but another conversation.
Right.
But no, I don't think that the university should have the option. Like if you're selected, you're selected. If your guys want to opt out, kind of like college football, then so be it. That's on them if they're going to go to the pro level and want to protect their stock.
Yeah.
Or their livelihood by not getting injured. But again, in the world of NIL, playing a couple extra games.
Yeah.
Playing a couple extra games,
like some more cash.
You're giving your university more cash. You're giving your university more notoriety to potential incoming recruits to see, the university, the coaching staff, again, how your offense is ran, so on and so forth. So I just think it's a bad look on those universities.
I agree.
Now who's to say the coaches didn't talk to the players and the players were like, nah, we're good. We'll just, we'll sit this one out. But again, like I said, I don't think the option should be there. I think you're selected, go play the game.
Yeah, and then one more thing I want to get your opinion on here, Josh. Kentucky's John Calipari slammed the talk of expanded NCAA tournament. So they're talking about, and this is ESPN's Pete Thamel last week, their ongoing discussions about the men's tournament to one featuring no more than 80 teams, right? So it's 68 right now, but 80 teams. And I'm with him, man. So Calipari did an interview, and if you haven't seen it, watch it. But he says, this is a business trip for me. And I'll say everybody that in this thing, I would say the same thing. I keep it where it is. Don't mess with something that's great. Don't mess with something that's great, man. I mean, and then Campy for Oakland University, he's got 400 wins, I believe, somewhere right around there, 398 or something. But he says, this is the holy grail for mid-majors, right? He says, and I've said that many times over the last week. The NCAA basketball tournament, please don't change it. Please don't change it. But it is one of the 3 greatest sporting events of the world. Even a guy like that is saying that from Oakland University, who doesn't get in often. They have to win basically their tournament to get in. They have to. If they don't win the Horizon, they're not going to get in.
Yeah, their last appearance, I believe, was 2011.
Right. Which I believe is Tristan Thompson that beat him up that time. But here's the thing, man. Don't be doing that. And I know the NCAA is talking about money. Oh, they'll make more money. 68 to 80 will ruin it. It will be too long. It's ridiculous.
It's perfect how it is right now.
It is. Why does everybody want to change something that's so good? This is the best event, man. I can argue that it's the best event in sports. I love the World Series.
I
Don't
was
get me
gonna
wrong.
say, like
I love the World Series,
a
but
guaranteed seventh game of the World Series. I'll take over basically any
of
championship
course, of
game,
course. But
any
outside of
sport. But,
that,
but we're not guaranteed that. So
no, we're
something
not.
that something that we are guaranteed is March Madness, and I
And
like
it's
the
always
format of it.
great.
I like how it is. There's always upsets. There's always Cinderella, and then at the end of the day, we always have a champ. So
Exactly.
there's always exciting games.
So on that note, I need to go because I got something to do, bro.
No, we good for. Give me 2 more minutes. I need to know. I need.
I
I
got
need
that
to know.
new MLB The Show. What's
I
up?
need to know. I need to know one thing from you when it comes to March Madness. I need to know your favorite possible matchups from each region.
From each region?
From each region, it doesn't matter if it's the Elite Eight,
Yeah.
Sweet 16. What's a possible matchup that you're excited for?
I mean, honestly,
if
for
it
me,
happens.
okay. So in the, I'll just start in the South. I think a Houston Kentucky matchup has me excited because
Yeah,
I think
number one on my list as well for that region.
Yeah, it has to be, right? Like in my opinion, that's what it's going to be, I believe. But that would be exciting. I'd love to see that. Now, if you want me to go over to the East and just looking as we go right now, dude, I really, really like Iowa State. I really like Iowa State, but I don't know if I'm talking about most exciting right now. I mean, you got to go back to UConn, right? Like, I mean, they did their work last year, right?
Yeah.
So like they got the belt on them, right? So like I'd say UConn playing. Dude, I might go Iowa State.
That's number 2 on my list. I have UConn, Illinois.
And that's a good game too, man. I mean, I've seen a lot of Big Ten basketball. They can play, and they got their boy back. So, who I thought their season was done for a while there. I don't know how he got back, but I'm happy for the kid. And okay, here's a matchup that means nothing, and this isn't my number one in this region, but I do want to tell you here's one that I wouldn't mind seeing. And I know you probably don't care, but North Carolina, Michigan State, just because to me I would just love to see Michigan State get demolished in that game. I would.
2008, 2009 championship game all over again.
All over again. Kalen Lucas will be watching from the stands in this one.
Tyler Hansborough just giving a Draymond.
Right. But if I'm being real, bro, I'm sorry, but Arizona Baylor to me is the one I would like to see. Who's I know you're gonna have UNC in there, so
Arizona Baylor's my second.
Yeah.
If Arizona survives and advances past Dayton,
fair enough.
That's number 1 on my list is UNC versus Arizona, obviously because of the love factor.
Yeah.
There, in the Midwest here, I'm torn between like 3 different matchups here.
I got one. I'm going Kansas, Tennessee.
See, and that's a potential LCA game.
Yeah, well, we got to go, but no, we can't afford those tickets. So,
all right. For me personally, you're gonna call me crazy. I have Creighton versus Tennessee in this.
But
game.
That's the thing. I believe Creighton's good, dude.
Yeah, I have Creighton in the Elite Eight, and I really wanted to put them in my Final Four, but they're just too small to match up.
I want to know if anyone sees Grambling beating Purdue. I think there's no chance, but I would love it so much.
It'd be hilarious.
It'd be funny.
I root for Purdue just because, like I said, that's my dad's alma mater. So
yeah.
I tend to root for them when they're not playing against a team that I love.
Do the Zags in your mind have any chance of making a run? Because it just feels like such an off year.
No, I literally just I took them to lose against McNeese.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's one of those games where it would be like I'm just gonna pick them because I know zero about McNeese, and I feel okay saying that. But if you know something about them that I don't,
yeah.
What do the stats say on McNeese? I gotta know because
McNeese. Oh, I don't even know where that paper's at right now. I had it all written down for my last podcast, though. Just know they're a really good team.
Yeah.
But no, in the East, though, my number 1 matchup is around a 32 game. If I'm being completely honest, Illinois, UConn would be like later on, like most exciting game to watch in that region. But it's FAU versus UConn for me.
Yeah. I mean,
I think FAU is the coach. They were both in the Final Four last year, so the coach has experience there. They returned.
You see them getting by Northwestern though?
They could. I mean, either way either way, that's probably the second round game that I'm most excited for,
Yeah.
other than UNC Michigan State if that matchup happens.
Yeah, and there's no way Auburn loses to Yale. I don't see that happening at all.
I don't see that happen either.
No.
Then in the South, like you said, Houston versus Kentucky, I really like that matchup. I have James Madison winning against Wisconsin. But if Wisconsin somehow wins that game, this is crazy to say because of my feeling of them losing the round one. But if they were somehow to get past James Madison, I like them to the Elite Eight. I think I think that first game is a very, 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 very traditional trap game for them. They're playing against a team who's hot. They've beat major programs this year, and they don't lose often.
Yeah.
Wisconsin's down on their defense, which they're normally known for.
They can
defense.
score, but yeah, they can't stop it.
James Madison can score, and they play solid defense. Their leading scorer is 19 a game or so.
Right.
They have two other guys 13 plus scoring in the game as well. They block shots. They play perimeter defense. So if they can somehow get by James Madison, I do like Wisconsin to make a run to the Elite Eight.
Well, let's root for Vermont versus James Madison. That would be. I don't care. I would watch it.
Right.
I would watch
100%, 100%.
I would watch it. And then,
other than that, though, Houston, Kentucky would be number one there. I'm very intrigued by a North Carolina State Kentucky matchup as well in the second round.
That would be interesting. That would because we know NC State can play, man,
and they can bang inside. So
right.
So that would be interesting.
Man. It'll be good. It'll be good.
Yes, sir.
All right, Clarky. Well, French Toast is calling my name, man. It's about to be Brenner. So
Brenner.
Breakfast for dinner, man.
I was going to say, I'm having sleep for dinner.
What are you having?
Having sleep for dinner.
Sleep? Oh.
Sleep.
I was going to say, I was like, okay. Going to bed. All right, bro. Good pod. Sir. I will see you next time, bro.
All right.
Peace.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to Detroit on Deck. Be sure to like and subscribe to our page for more Detroit content.